Guys, I'm afraid the impossible is starting to come true. Megalopolis is flopping. Megalopolis, the new film by Francis Ford Coppola. Adam Driver stars. Aubrey Plaza stars. That's pretty cool. A lot of other big stars in this film. $120 million to budget. And it is not doing great. It's putting up some pretty low numbers. This number, exactly, to be specific, a low number. A very low number. The lowest number. The film is not doing great. And honestly, I can't say I'm surprised. Yeah. Going into the production of this film, a lot of people were saying, it's not gonna work. It's too expensive. It's not gonna work for what we're trying to do. The audience isn't really there. And Francis Ford Coppola, this was a big passion project of his, right? He always wanted to make this film. He said something along the lines of he can die happy now that this film's made. Good for him. I'm happy for him that he was able to make this. But, he was very determined, very determined. And once again, this arises the great point of what the heck's going on with movies being made with too high budgets in an industry that is kind of struggling, especially in the theater side of things. Why are we making films so expensive? Because it just makes it that much harder to regroup the profits and then even then make a further profit. We are seeing the films that are succeeding these days are the ones that have smaller budgets. Rarely on occasion, a bigger film will do really good, a film like Deadpool and Wolverine, but that's a rare occasion, and there's so many other exterior for circumstances that make those movies do so good outside of an original IP, an original project like Megalopolis, which, don't get me wrong, we should be championing. We should be encouraging the production of these original idea films, these passion projects of directors. Even if they're not that good themselves, the idea of them being made is a win, because we need more original films to be made and seen and marketed correctly so that the audiences can get to see those movies instead of just a good film being made and nobody seeing it. And we're making it so much harder for these kinds of films to be made and then succeed when the budgets are higher. Because when we make a film for $120 million, which strangely isn't even that high now, unfortunately, we're seeing films 300 to 200, $300 million. When we see films like this made for expensive budgets by legendary directors, veteran directors, and they don't do good, that decentivizes studios to make these films in the future. A director like a Martin Scorsese, like a Ridley Scott, all of these big legendary directors, they might lose out on opportunities because these films aren't doing good, because there's not a market for it, right? These big time old school directors, they're not as appealing and marketable to the masses as they used to be when they were making the big films. Steven Spielberg's making the Jaws and things like that, Hook, even films that were at the time a lot more marketable. And that really sucks, dude. That really freaking sucks, because again, Megalopolis aside, I haven't seen the film yet. I don't know if it's good. A lot of these people are still putting out phenomenal work. Martin Scorsese, still at his old age, is still putting out incredible work. Some of the best work we have out there. Ridley Scott, more or less, is still doing a tremendous job. So many of these directors are. We still need this. It sets a precedent for now and for the future. So in 40 years, when that old director is, a Jordan Peele, someone like that, we can still let them make movies and still give people movies and films that matter to, society and the people and the medium itself, the art form. They're so important. We need to be doing everything we can to help these films succeed, and we're not. By giving them high budgets that are way too high, it's making it that much harder for them to succeed. And that really is unfortunate, dude. I'm not saying to not make these films. If Francis Ford Coppola, if he really wants this film to be made and he needs $120 million for it, let's talk about this. Let's think about what we can do to make this film on a smaller budget. Sure, we can maybe cut back here. We can cut back in a few corners, not to the detriment of the film, but we can work with the creatives themselves to find a way to make that work, to make it more easier to hit those financial goals. And I don't know what they were banking on, the marketing being. The only real things I could think of is this movie being almost like the movie nobody wanted because it was too expensive, because the production was so insane, because, there's live actors apparently at some showings talking to the screen. That's really cool. That's awesome. It's not quite enough. The same thing, how Francis Ford Coppola, as good as he is, as legendary and established and acclaimed as he is, it sucks that that's not enough to get people to see the movie. Sure, it's going to get, the film bros and people who are really into movies, who really care about that, filmmakers themselves. It's not going to get the masses on that name alone. And I hate that that's the case. I hate that, guys like Francis Ford Coppola, like Martin Scorsese, that they don't have that anymore. Because even last year with Killers of the Flower Moon, again, a phenomenal film, a tremendous film. Martin Scorsese freaking crushed it. That movie did not do that well. And that's where it really hurt me that, Martin Scorsese, his name isn't going to get people there because a lot of young people are really struggling with movies, and that he doesn't have the recognition that he deserves, that he should have, that he probably had, 10, 20 years ago. It sucks, but that's the world we live in. So if they were banking on Francis Ford Coppola's name, a director who I'd argue is, not even argue, I feel like we could all agree that he's less popular than Martin Scorsese, they can't bank on that. They can't count on his name getting people there. The same thing with Adam Driver, a really good actor, not a actor particular who people are going to go to the theater for as far as the mass people, the mass population. Sure, there are diehard Adam Driver fans. There are film fans who have seen a lot of these films outside of just Star Wars, who know just how good he is. But a lot of people, they don't see him for Silence. They don't see him for Marriage Story. They don't see him for films like that are gonna, get you in the seat to see what Adam Driver does next because they're just thinking about Star Wars. And that sucks, dude. That really sucks. The film wasn't marketed as good as it could have been. No movies really are these days. Marketing is at an all-time low for movies, I feel like. And this really sucks, dude. I really hate to see this movie flop and do bad because I think these are important movies that we need to have do good and succeed. And they're not hitting that, and that really sucks. I really hope we turn it around. I really hope studios and filmmakers can, start to keep this in mind when they move forward with their productions. And I hope for the best that Francis Ford Coppola makes more films and that they get all the recognition and praise that they deserve and that they're the best movies of all time. But until then, that's the video. Thanks so much for watching. If you've seen the movie, what do you think? Let me know. I'll talk to you later. New videos every single day.